This is the Bastard Star Wars RPG Deep Dive Podcast.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place you come to get, well, the real story behind the complex stuff. Today, we're jumping into a corner of the galaxy where success isn't always straightforward. Where a mission might technically work out but ends up creating way more problems. Or maybe a capture mission just goes completely sideways. We're talking high-stakes intrigue, the kind that forces people into really desperate spots, blurring that line between smart strategy and just pure guts. So yeah, we're doing a deep dive today into what's been happening recently with one particular Rebel Squadron Rouge squadron. Things have been tumultuous for them. We've got sources that paint this really vivid picture. Political messes, personal dramas bubbling up within the crew, and this one space battle, it was just chaotic, desperate. And if you go by the book, it totally went off the rails. It's a really fascinating peek behind the curtain at the pressures, the compromises, on the rebellion's front lines.
Yeah, exactly. And for this deep dive, we've managed to piece together some pretty compelling stuff. Internal rebel debriefings, for one, plus these candid character profiles from intelligence and detailed combat logs, too. So taken together, they don't just tell you a story. They really show the huge challenges, often contradictory ones, that the specific rebel cell is facing, navigating this really morally gray galactic war.
Okay, so our mission today, we want to pull out the absolute best nuggets of insight for you. We'll dig into how individual personalities clash with plans, how strategy bumps up against reality under, unimaginable pressure. It's a unique look behind the scenes at how the rebellion ticks when things aren't quite going smoothly. You know that feeling, right?
Yeah.
You fix one thing and suddenly, whoops, 3 new problems pop up. Or when you have clear instructions, but in the heat of the moment, they just kind of evaporate. Well, this deep dive shows you exactly that, just, on a galactic scale, with lasers and politics. And the fate of the rebellion may be hanging in the balance. All right, let's kick things off. Let's unpack this pretty flamboyant character who seems to be right in the middle of some recent political tremors, Flick Barnaba. He's just inherited the barony of Night Singer's orb. But it sounds like right after this supposed win, he walks straight into a political minefield. What kind of trouble did he get himself into?
Well, Flick, who's now officially Flick Hajarin, he created what Rebel High Command very diplomatically called a significant headache. Basically his big move. He cut this unilateral deal on his own with some shadowy figure called Whisper at the Glittering Gamble Casino, right there on Night Singer's orb. Now, this deal, it was audacious. It grabbed a crucial 30% interest in the casino for his new house, which sounds good, right? But the cost. It simultaneously kicked out 3 pretty formidable powers. We're talking the Empire, the Hutts, the Crime Syndicate, and even a rival noble house, McKinney.
Wow, okay, so he didn't just step on toes. He, stomped on them all at once.
Exactly. And the sources, they really highlight how exasperated his uncle, Gaemus Sharan, was. I mean, he was left holding the bag, basically, had to try and clean up this huge geopolitical mess Flick just sort of casually created.
Right, okay. And this is where it gets really interesting, isn't it? Because his uncle sees this total disaster, a diplomatic nightmare.
Right.
But the rebellion itself, they have a surprisingly different take on Flicks. Let's call it unconventional diplomacy. What's their angle here? What does that tell us about Flicks?
Yeah, it's fascinating because the rebellion leadership, they looked at this and far from seeing a blunder, they actually called Flick's casino deal a tremendous win.
A win, how?
Well, it wasn't about playing nice politically. It was pure pragmatism. Desperate pragmatism, maybe. The deal got them access to something they called a dark port.
A dark port?
Yeah, basically a hidden hub for illicit goods, for intelligence, a neutral spot where different underworld types could meet. For a struggling rebellion, that kind of access, it was vital for their smuggling, for covert movements. It was like a lifeline, outside of Imperial eyes.
Okay, so a moral compromise, maybe, but strategically huge for them.
Definitely a compromise, but one they were clearly ready to make. And Flick's background kind of explains why he was maybe the only one who could pull this off or would even try. The sources show he's not just some playboy noble. He's also a pretty sharp art broker. And crucially, he used to operate as a, quote, made man within the Hutt organization from past smuggling jobs.
Okay. So he knows that world.
Exactly. He has this web of connections. He's comfortable navigating those murky criminal waters, which explains his really bold, almost reckless, but ultimately effective move here.
So the rebellion basically reframes success. Based on their desperate needs, they turn this socialite's huge gamble into a strategic win. Well, it's a stark reminder, isn't it, how desperate times force you to rethink tactics. Blurs the line between acceptable risk and just sheer recklessness. But hang on, his history with the Hutts, does that make this deal an asset or like a ticking time bomb, given how unreliable the Hutts are known to be?
And that's exactly the tension you see hinted at in the debriefings. Yeah, getting the dark port access, that's a big immediate win strategically. But Flick's being so tangled up with the Hutts and kicking out House McKinney, that introduces some serious ongoing risks, liabilities. The Hutts, they operate on shifting loyalties, debts, favors. So sure, they give access now, but they could easily use Flick's past or this new setup against the rebellion down the line.
Right. High risk, high reward.
Totally. It really speaks to how badly the rebellion needed those resources, even if it meant, well, dancing with the devil, so to speak.
A powerful look at those tough wartime leadership calls. Okay, so given that context, Flick's risky moves paying off, sort of how did that shape Rouge Squadron getting ready for the next big thing? Who are the key players here and what was going on with them personally and professionally just before this next deployment?
This is where you really see the individual threads that make up the squadron. It's quite a mix. Each person brings unique skills and, yeah, often some personal baggage, too. Let's start with Riat Yondar, callsign Rook. He's a former Imperial test pilot, exceptionally skilled, but he just had this near-death experience, lost an expensive ship upgrade back on Nightsinger's Orb.
Ouch, expensive loss.
Yeah, a big setback. But despite that, his piloting skills, still absolutely top tier. He's crucial in a fight. Then you've got Conrad Wild. He's the squadron's investigator. Brilliant guy. He dug up some critical intel on this notorious gambler, Hamar Choptek. Turns out this guy has deep connections to both the Hutt and the Jock syndicates, these massive criminal networks.
Okay, so more underworld ties.
Exactly. And Conrad also uncovered this vengeful former contact, Regal Stagenak, all tied up in high-stakes Sabak.
Sabak, that's the card game, right? Like poker mixed with blackjack.
That's the one. Goal is 0, don't bust. And yeah, cheating is almost an art form there. So Conrad's intel was key to understanding the world Flick had just waded deeper into. Next up, Beaumont Negrique, he's their Zabrak guerrilla fighter. He actually just left temporarily, went to Vicinith to train a new rebel cell, teaching survival, combat skills, even used his personal military tripod. It's this heavy weapon platform he calls Manport. So he's building up the rebellion's ground forces.
Spreading the knowledge.
Yeah.
Good. Who else?
Then there's Tylo Alden. Now, he's an Imperial stormtrooper, but he's secretly talking to Lieutenant Jessadagis, planning to defect. And for Tylo, it's deeply personal. He has this huge vendetta against the Empire. They infected him with a bioweapon, cost him an eye, nearly killed him.
Wow. So not just politics for him, it's revenge.
Absolutely. That's what drives him. His cover identity is Jafan Tain, a smuggler known for getting the good stuff on the black market. And finally, John Tailgunner, seasoned wowing gunner. He was really keen on training new recruits, especially this promising young woman from Vicinith. But his, let's say, enthusiastic approach, maybe a bit reckless. It made Rebel Command a little skeptical. He has a reputation for getting results, but sometimes, unconventionally.
Yeah, it sounds like quite the crew. A testament to the rebellion's desperation, maybe. Pulling together disgraced Imperials, smugglers, or rogue noble. Each one brings something unique, skills-wise.
But also, yeah, a lot of personal motivation. Baggage, even. So how did they gear up for whatever was coming next? Because this team sounds like they're about to face something intense.
Oh, absolutely. And their effectiveness got a significant boost, actually, thanks to Lokar the Finder. He's this really shrewd black market procurement specialist. Through his Terrasa contacts, that's a network known for high-end, maybe not strictly legal, tech, Lokar got some advanced ship upgrades for Rouge Squadron.
Upgrades, always good. What kind? Well, much-needed ordnance for some ships. Brand new astromech droids for the X-Wings, big help for navigation, combat systems, and just general improvements, structure, and performance for the Y-Wing. These weren't just tune-ups, they were critical upgrades, designed to give them an edge in what everyone knew would be really dangerous missions.
Makes sense. Every member, every piece of gear has its strengths, its weaknesses. Understanding that balance, that could be the difference between success and disaster. Sometimes the most unlikely people end up being crucial. Okay, so connecting this to the bigger picture now. Rebel Command issues a new mission. High priority. Lieutenant Jessadagis, Tylo's contact. She delivers the briefing. What's the target? What's at stake here?
Right, this was a major operation. A direct high-stakes intercept mission. Rouge Squadron's task, ambush an Imperial shuttle. And this shuttle was carrying Moff Lon Lankin, a very high-ranking Imperial officer.
Moff. Okay, that's a big deal.
Huge deal. Lincoln was apparently critical for Imperial logistics, especially in the Outer Rim. He oversaw supply lines moving vital stuff, like rare kyber crystals even, to new Imperial bases. So the goal was twofold. One, seriously mess up those Imperial supply lines. Two, deliver a big demoralizing blow to the local Imperial forces, capturing a target like Lincoln. That means invaluable intel, plus a massive propaganda win for the rebellion.
Okay, but this raises a really important, almost paradoxical question, right? What were the exact rules for this mission, the parameters? Because it sounds like the pressure was immense and success wasn't just about stopping the enemy.
Precisely, and the parameters were incredibly rigid, almost designed to create tactical friction, you could say. The primary objective stated very clearly, capture Moff Lincoln by disabling his shuttle, not destroying it. And only after the shuttle was disabled, then they were cleared to eliminate the escorts.
Only after, wow.
Yeah, the debriefings are crystal clear on this. If that shuttle got destroyed, mission. Absolute failure.
Okay, that puts unbelievable pressure on the pilots. Fight a battle, but with one hand tied behind your back, aiming for disablement in the middle of, chaos and laser fire.
Exactly. And adding another layer here, the sources mention this quiet interaction between Lieutenant Bages and Tylo Alden during the briefing. Sort of hushed, knowing, hinting at maybe deeper connections, or at least a shared, unspoken understanding of what Imperial discipline really means. Brutal realities.
Interesting. Suggests maybe some empathy there? Shared experience regarding the Empire's methods could have complicated Tylo's motives even more. Man, that's a huge burden for any commander. Being put in a situation where success is defined by this almost impossible constraint. The pressure of knowing victory isn't just about winning the fight, but how you win it. That line between success and failure becomes razor thin, hinges on one split-second call. It really shows that tragic paradox of wartime leadership, doesn't it? What makes sense tactically in the moment might be a total mission failure by the rulebook. Okay, so Rouge Squadron heads out. Deployment point. Deep inside an asteroid field. Treacherous. Classic setting for galactic mayhem. Walk us through the first moments of the fight. Did the new upgrades help right away, or was it just instant chaos?
Well, the ambush itself, textbook setup, but the results were messy. Rouge Squadron jumps in. You've got Flick in the Y-Wing, Conrad and Tylo in their X-Wings, Rook in his TIE Advanced prototype, that really nimble one, and John Tail Gunners on the Y-Wing's turret. They engage the Moff shuttle. Initially, it only has 4 standard TIE fighters as escort.
Only 4. Seems light for a Moff.
Maybe they expected a clear run. Anyway, Flick's first shots, they miss. Conrad gets some hits, but minimal damage. But Rook, the ace, right away, precision fire rips through the lead TIE's shields. But those TIE fighters, they lived up to their reputation. Super maneuverable. They proved incredibly hard to pin down, dodging through the asteroids, made themselves really tough targets. Think old Earth WWII-0 fighters. Fast, agile, but maybe a bit fragile.
Right, I get that. So the upgrades helped, but didn't make it easy.
Exactly. The rebel ships were tougher, hit harder thanks to Lokar. But the Imperial TIEs were just so unexpectedly agile, it turned into this desperate chase almost immediately.
And the chaos that followed in that asteroid field, it sounds intense. The combat just spiraled into this frantic dogfight, right? Amidst all those rocks, what were some of the standout moments, the wins, the losses that really defined this fight?
Yeah, it quickly became just a maelstrom. Laser fire everywhere, desperate moves. An Imperial Elite TIE interceptor shows up. That's a nastier, more aggressive version. It lets loose this blistering volley, just strips Tylo's shields completely, leaves him wide open.
Oh, not good.
Not good at all. But then, Flick. Despite missing earlier, he nails this perfect shot, destroys a TIE, gets first blood for the squadron. Then Conrad, showing his skill, expertly takes out a second TIE. Meanwhile, Rook is just hammering the Moff shuttle relentlessly, but its shields, they're reinforced or something. They just stubbornly hold on, which is frustrating given the mission.
Yeah, they need it disabled, not destroyed, but they can't even get the shields down reliably.
Right. And amidst all this, Tylo, probably fueled by that personal vendetta, he finds this new resolve, claims his first kill of the fight. John Tail Gunner in the Y-Wing turret, he uses the ion cannon. Manages to cripple a TIE fighter, stuns its systems, takes it out of the fight briefly.
Okay, some successes then. But it sounds like things were about to get worse.
Dramatically worse. Imperial reinforcements arrive. More TIE fighters. Another elite interceptor. The odds just shifted hard against the rebels. Flick's Y-Wing takes heavy hull damage from one of those elites. Conrad's X-Wing gets hit multiple times. Shields are flickering. Compromised. Rook, ever the ace, has to destroy another tie just to protect Conrad. Incredible piloting, great tactical thinking, but they're getting overwhelmed. Finally, John Tailgunner manages to score more hits, this time critical damage on the shuttle's engines. It starts trailing thick smoke. You can see it's hurt bad.
Sounds like a really brutal, grinding fight, taking heavy punishment on both sides, but especially the squadron. What did this mean for their survival and for that primary goal, capturing Lincoln? Because it really sounds like that objective was just slipping away.
The toll was becoming unbearable, absolutely. Rook's TIE advanced prototype, it just absorbed too much damage, finally takes critical hits. He's forced to eject.
He made it out.
He made it out. But he lost the ship, a really valuable one, and another expensive upgrade with it. So their best pilot is now floating in space out of the fight, and the Moff shuttle, yeah, it's heavily damaged, smoking. But it's still kicking. And now it's clearly trying to run, fleeing the battle, making that capture objective look, well, pretty much impossible at this point.
So the squadron is battered, outnumbered, their ace is gone, and the target is escaping. Dire situation.
Dire is putting it mildly.
You can just feel the intensity in those logs. Close quarters combat like that. Individual skill, teamwork, yeah, but also just sheer luck, determining who survives. That constant dance between attack and defense, always knowing you could be overwhelmed any second. The psychological pressure must have been crushing. Okay, so squadron taking heavy losses, overwhelming odds. The target is damaged but running away.
What's a massive, difficult decision is looming large. What was the final call? From the squadron commander, from Flick, in that crisis moment. Yeah, Flick looked at the situation. He saw the odds stacked against them. He saw the shuttle trying to bolt, clearly beyond any realistic chance of capture now. So as squadron commander, he made the call. The fateful one. The controversial one. He gave a direct order, destroy the Moff's shuttle.
Destroy it.
Yeah.
Directly overriding the primary's objective.
Directly overriding it. It was a conscious choice, a desperate tactical decision made in the absolute heat of battle, prioritizing eliminating the high-value target over trying to achieve the impossible capture. It was basically him acknowledging, the original mission parameters. They just weren't viable anymore, not under that kind of extreme pressure.
Wow. Okay. And the consequences. Immediate, long-term. Because going against a direct order like that, especially in the rebellion where discipline is key, that must have had serious repercussions, not just for the mission status, but for morale, future ops.
The consequences were, swift and severe, and pretty impactful. The Moff's shuttle, it was destroyed, target eliminated, but the cost was incredibly high. In the chaos right after, John Tailgunner's Y-wing got hit, destroyed. He managed to eject, thankfully, survived. Another Y-wing, piloted by someone named Chris, took critical damage, barely made it out with just one hull point left.
So they took out the Moff, but lost potentially 2 ships, maybe pilots, tons of damage.
Exactly. And because that primary objective capture wasn't met, Rebel High Command officially declared the mission a failure.
A failure.
Even though they destroyed him off.
Officially, yes, failure. And this wasn't just, a note in a file. It meant Rouge Squadron earned 0 experience points for everything they just went through. That's a tangible hit to their standing, their resources. Imagine fighting that hard, achieving something significant like killing a Moff, only to be told, nope, you failed.
The psychological impact on the squadron must have been devastating.
That's just brutal. The reality of command decisions under fire. Sometimes the most practical choice, maybe even the only choice in a desperate moment, means completely sacrificing the main goal. This whole deep dive, it really lays bare that unpredictable nature of conflict, doesn't it? Individual actions, personalities, those split-second calls under pressure, they just cascade outwards with massive effects. That line between success and failure gets so incredibly blurry. Sometimes winning the battle really does mean losing the mission, or maybe vice versa. Depends entirely on who's defining success. What a ride we've taken today. From Flick Barnabas, political maneuvering, maybe stumbling into that casino deal, to meeting the really diverse, very human members of Rouge Squadron, experiencing that desperate fight in the asteroids, and then that final mission-altering decision, destroying the Moff shuttle.
It really is a powerful testament, isn't it, to the messy, complicated reality of war. This whole scenario, it just perfectly highlights that tragic paradox we talked about, where what's strategically sound, what might even be heroic in the moment, ends up being judged an operational failure based on the rules set beforehand. And that tension, that weight, it almost always falls squarely on the shoulders of the commanders in the field, forcing them into these impossible choices, knowing there will be consequences, no matter their bravery or tactical skill.
Yeah, well said. So we'll leave you, our listeners, with this thought to chew on. When you're faced with those impossible odds, those conflicting objectives, what really defines success? Is it sticking rigidly to the original plan, the parameters you were given? Or is it adapting, surviving, fighting another day, even if that means technically failing the mission as it was first drawn up? When would you choose to prioritize survival or eliminating the threat over a stated objective you know you can no longer meet, knowing the official fallout? Something to think about until our next deep dive.
Thank you for listening to the Bastard Star Wars RPG Deep Dive Podcast. We'll see you next week.